Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Discord.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discord.
Yeah.
C. Country.
Ba-ba-da-ba. Well, yeah. Yeah, we could do Applejack next. Applejack is amazing. And then there we go, and wait. I think that's right link, yeah. Okay. Okay, Lord Fluffy, Lord Fluffy, Lord Fluffy. Well, I guess since Ben won't be joining us today, I guess I'll be the narrator. Woo, narrating. I gotta think of all some pranks to do for on Tuesday, it being April 1st and all.
Does Sweepo have lines in this chapter? Do you know?
Huh?
Do you know if Sweepo has any lines?
I don't know.
Sorry, Frank.
Oh, hey, we have 3 readers today. Awesome.
Yay.
Yeah, are you telling me we have some Sweetie Belle lines?
I'm pretty sure Sweetie Belle has some lines, but of course Josh is Rarity, because, you know, he makes a beautiful, beautiful Rarity.
It's also ironic that I'm playing Sweetie Belle and Josh is playing Rarity, considering I'm older than Josh.
And
Also, do you have a link to the story?
Yeah, well, I'm older than all of you, so shush.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
You're a year older than me. I'm turning 21 in December.
Ah, nice, nice, nice. Okay, so I posted a link.
You're slightly older than me. Slightly older.
So I posted a link to the story. Just tell me when you guys are on it.
What chapter?
Oh no, I posted a link to the chapter of the story.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, Prestige?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so as I was saying to Josh, since Ben's not here, I'll be the narrator. Then Josh can be Rarity.
Josh is here.
Huh?
Josh is here.
Ben isn't here.
Ben.
Ben here.
It hurts my feelings when people get me mixed up with Ben.
So Josh can be Rarity, and you can be Sweetie Belle, and if you want to be other characters, that's fine too.
I don't mind.
And I guess Josh can be Asbrock too.
That makes no sense.
Well, I guess I could stick with Asbrock too and be a narrator. Okay.
I feel like I could just read it by myself. I could always.
It's a one-man show.
Yeah.
I honestly don't trust myself to read by myself because, I mean, I'd start getting distracted and just have a conversation with myself.
Actually, I'm pretty good at reading. I can narrate.
Okay, now let me just double check something real quick. Okay, everything's good on that front. Okay.
Are we streaming?
Huh?
Are we streaming?
Yep.
Already?
Yep. been streaming for a couple minutes now since before.
Sorry, but I was going to call with a friend.
That's fine. Your voice sounds really familiar to somebody I know.
Who do I sound like?
I sound like my friend Abby.
Okay.
No, it's just, I guess I had like the same problem with a friend, right? Like, there's this group, and anytime I'm like in a Skype call with them, right? They're like, this one person says, you know what, dude? You sound exactly like Tony. And they get really confused when we're both on because we sound exactly the same when we both talk on Skype.
Damn.
If I ever have that problem, I'll just talk in like a completely different voice than I'm talking a voice that no one would naturally have.
Yeah, rarity.
Rarity.
Or Discord.
Did anyone see a new episode today, by the way?
Yeah.
Before we started that episode, I was actually supposed to go to a friend's house to watch it, but he got sick.
Is it me, or are they doing a lot of the Apple family this season?
It's a little too much Apple Family. I want some rarity.
Well, speaking of rarity,
However,
this is the last week.
What?
This is the last week for rarity stories. We're moving on to a new character next week.
Oh.
Which means we have like 7 chapters to read today.
Yeah, which that pretty much stream's gonna be a little bit different. Probably not gonna be playing games today. It's probably just.
Well, I gotta get going in the 30 minutes before it, you know.
Yeah. Well, just
I
stay
gotta
out.
get ready for minute songs, and I gotta be ready for the onslaught.
What do you do to get ready?
Just stay as long as you can.
I'll try, of course.
Okay. So, shall we start then? Everybody ready?
I don't see.
Okay. And Josh is in comforting silence. I'll take that as a yes. Present. Not another minute, not another second, not another heartbeat, not the amount of time it took to scribble a name and a number onto a check longer. Rarity wanted to relieve of this ordeal right now. She had distracted and diverted her attention for enough in this one night to last a lifetime. All she wanted to do was keep her little sister safe from harm. Was that too much to ask for? Was it? Apparently it was. As her guest recorded the transaction in his record, she could hear Sweetie Belle upstairs. I hate that thing. Sweetie Belle upstairs through the ceiling, as if she was stomping around, almost as if she was punishing her sister for trying to do the right thing. But still, every step, every creak, every breath was slammed around the Carousel Boutique and into her little head like the story of the Telltale Heart. The element of generosity squeezed her eyes closed and begged to some higher power, please. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Please just be quiet for a moment.
And to this higher power's gratitude, her fleeting prayer was answered. The sound stopped because Sweetie Belle was dead.
Thank you, Jesus.
She opened her eyes. Damn you, Celestia. She opened her eyes again. The pony before her flipped
her off.
I know, it just...
from his
This computer
record.
message keeps on popping up that's really annoying.
Want me to read this part?
The pony before her flipped from records to his checks and began to put the pen to paper. But he did not immediately start writing. Instead, he looked up at her and then shifted his attention up some more and to the left. Rarity had found herself dumbstruck. Why wasn't he finishing his business in all of his visits? He had never had to stop and think about anything. What was distracting him? Rarity?
Rarity? Hey, it's my line.
I was gonna be S-Rock, remember?
That's Sweetie Belle.
This is Sweetie Belle.
Okay.
Rarity?
The call upon mare shot head around in breakneck speeds and found herself staring at the same thing as her guest.
I don't think it's a good idea to like spin your head around at breakneck speeds. I mean, they're called breakneck for a reason.
Yeah. Ouch. Sweetie Belle stood at the top of the staircase, pajamas on her body and sleeping cap atop her horned head. She had a hoof to her mouth as she yawned with her partially opened eyes. Partially, sorry.
I'm going to bed now. I'm going to bed now.
She stated.
All she could do.
I know. Sorry, this computer magic is probably most annoying as hell. All she could do was nod through her horrified expression.
See you in the morning!
She finished as she slapped her tongue on the roof of her mouth and head off to her waiting bed. It made me tired. The owner of the store frantically turned around and threw on a pathetically fake smile before she slowly took a step back. The final customer of the night was still looking up at the access to the upper landing of the store, watching the shopkeeper's siblings walk off in dreamland. Rarity, with hooves shaking, her tail between her legs and trembling lips, offered.
You know, royal customer. How about I put this one in our house? Holy shit. Let me up so charged. That was satisfactory.
Noticing that he's being spoken to, the finally dressed... What the hell is that?
Sorry, I got a text.
Okay. The finally dressed customer calmly looked down and put his host in the center of attention. He did not answer. He did not try to intimidate her. He just took a moment to look her in the eyes. She sweated away her makeup. Oh god, but she's ugly now. He slipped his checkbook.
What you call me?
He slipped his checkbook back to his inner suit pocket. I see. He turned and walked across the shop towards the door, slipped his weather-resistant coat over his new-made suit, and stepped outside into the rain. Another flash of lightning later, and he practically disappeared off the face of the planet. Speed me up, Scotty! Ready to collapse onto the front counter. She caught her head in her hooves and let them rub into her eyes. She pressed and rubbed and smeared her eyeliner across her face and the bridge of her snout. Anything, be it pain or pleasure, to remind her that she was alive.
Pleasure.
The first time she had made his acquaintance, she had hoped that it would be the last time, to write it off in her mind that he was dead to her. But then he came back. And again, and again, and again. At one point she considered calling for the authorities or have a trap be set for him. But as she thought on it, what would they do? Arrest him for being shy, introverted? And what some may declare rude, he didn't do anything wrong, especially to her. Even though the contents of his bags and the checkbook in his possession would set off a few alarms, did not conclude enough to warrant any sort of action. He probably definitely had some sort of license, excuse, story, or alibi to wave off any pony who questioned him. Yes, I went for Cutco. All it really came down to was her ward and crazy imagination against his. She had stopped there as much as she wanted to forget. The crossing of their paths she had to investigate, call it mare's intuition or instinct. But she had to look into what she had found herself, and she could not follow him or could not ask other ponies about him because simply no pony else knew of a winged unicorn except for Twilight. I mean, just Celestia and Luna.
He's an alicorn, though. These are two different things. There's alicorns and there's winged unicorns. He's a winged unicorn. They are alicorns. Get it right, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it's winged unicorn.
They lived or visited Ponyville regularly. After their first few engagements, she had found herself filing her free time with books and researching traits about the dark side of the society. Actually, have you watched the show lately? There's a bunch of winged unicorns in that show.
Oh yeah, it's like I don't know, horror or something.
Yeah. Spy novels, horror films, psychological journals,
Psychological.
whatever, news reports and cognitive breakdowns of murderers and thieves, equine development pamphlets, to preservations about the criminally insane. She had even enrolled herself to community college course on the topic of personality disorders, all to try and find out what exactly made this customer tick, and to hopefully give her some peace of mind over his visits to her store. Damn, Rarity, obsessed much?
Damn, Rarity, you're studying hard.
Rarity turned the lights off in the store and locked the door once more. She headed up the stairs and to the upper floor towards her bed. But instead of heading to the correct room, she stopped directly across the hall, and at the door was partially opened. As she expected, through the cracked door, Sweetie Belle's little head was poking out of the top of the sheets, with a cute little stocking cap on it. On top of it.
Sweetie would never wear a stocking cap to sleep. Have you seen the show? She tries to sleep like Apple Bloom.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was, sleeping with a real purpose, trying to trick Applejack.
I know, but still.
Yeah, true. He was
sass.
He was hiding
like Michelle Kramer.
Oh, he was hiding something. It would take a fool to doubt that. But that was not the focus of her hunt. What was he hiding? That was also important, but still not point. Why was he doing such a poor job at hiding the fact that he had secrets? That was the question. Con stallions, crooks, thieves, frauds, those who have split personalities, all those types of ponies were often great liars. Some of them were so great at that aspect of their trade that they themselves believed their own lies. This one didn't. From the first time he came in, he could have put on a show, acted goofy and clumsy to explain why his outfit was in such bad condition. He could have acted poor so that she would help him free of charge. He could have bounced the very first check that he used to purchase something from her store and never returned, selling it for 5 times the price on the street. But he didn't. He wanted to show who he really was, how quiet, reserved, cold, and grumpy the real him was. I wouldn't really say he was grumpy. At the same time, he could have been a misogynist, but she doubted that. Instead, misogynist. Instead, he always came in when the store was nearing its close, to make sure that nobody else would likely be in there as well. To let full effect of his oppression settle on her. He aimed to intimidate her and scare her, but at the same time he obeyed the rules. He never did not pay her, never threatened her, and he did not try to escort her like a bully. It was a silly thing to say, but it was almost like he was trying to gross her out. Interesting. She had seen it once on the playground at elementary when she could walk. Sweetie Belle to school. There was a little colt that would jump around in the mud and get all dirty. He would shake his coat clean while trying to get every pony else dirty. He would find worms in the dirt and eat them in front of every pony, else with his mouth open and long, drawn out, grinding of his teeth. Oh God. That reminds me of my cousin. The little pony wanted to be the center of attention by being obnoxious and sickening as possible. He craved the attention and would do anything to do it. As similar as it was to this one customer at the Carousel Boutique, it was strangely different. Yeah, he didn't eat worms. The schoolyard colt eating worms was actively trying to get attention by being outlandish. This other pony was doing it by, strangely enough, not trying to get attention, by being so bland and uninteresting that Rarity was attracted to it. Strangely, it worked like a fish to live bait. Satisfied that Sweetie Belle was safe, Rarity walked across the hall and into her own room. She did not bother with the light or prepare herself for beauty sleep. She climbed into her bed and grabbed her pillow like a stuffed animal. Her makeup was straining the pillowcase, but she did not care. She could clean it later. Really? I hear makeup's really hard to get out pillowcases.
It's really hard to get off, it's true.
Ah, see?
I think she's a bit more worried about other things at the moment, like, holy cow, my sister was almost dead.
What?
Oh, he wouldn't have done anything.
Well, this is Rarity we're talking about. Come on.
Yeah. She did not know what he did for a living. What was he a professional of? But her gut told her it was not to be shared. As strong, as independent as she tried to be, she was like property to him, like a farmer weeding crops or a wolf fighting off another to protect the sheep that it frequented. She was being protected from herself. She had a use, and she would be safe as long as she kept doing that. Her discretion and confidentiality was what kept her from knowing too much, and he wanted her to learn that by showing just the tip of the iceberg of who he was. He had nothing invested with her. If she tried to turn on him, he would leave and never look back. There's no doubt he could find another Tailor, but she was worried as to how their business relation would be broken up. She was just one pony, one liability, one Tailor. There was one suit, and he was just one customer to her. If she kept everything as simple as that, she would be fine. She curled her bottom leg up and snuggled the pillow tighter in her embrace. She closed her eyes and rubbed her cheek on its soft form. But she could not fall asleep yet. As she closed her eyes, she could see the outline of his image. At the moment he knew that Sweetie Belle was upstairs. She had been too frightened to notice it at first, but there was something different to the way he normally conducted himself. His lip was a little curled, almost as if it was smiling, albeit evilly. His brows was a tad bit straighter and more confident, and his irises were smaller and more determined. The image and body language, no matter how subliminal and small, spoke volumes to her. You're afraid to...
No, I'm reading this one. Okay, you've been reading for way too long, man.
Oh, fine. That's perfectly fine.
Let me read my own thoughts.
That's perfectly fine.
Josh, thank you.
You're right to be afraid. You should hide your sister. I'm not something to trifle with. Wait, is this supposed to be S-Brock or something? Like what?
Yes, that is S-Brock.
So, like, she's just imagining him talking. So, I mean, I'll just do a special
Read
voice.
the damn words.
I'm doing my S-Brock voice now.
Okay.
You're right to be afraid. You should hide your sister. I'm not something to trifle with. I'm a rattlesnake hiding in the grass. You can't see me, but I'm rattling my tail to make sure you know how dangerous I am. Don't ever forget that, or you might get bitten.
Thank you. My mouth is getting dry from all that reading.
And now, that was chapter 7.
And now chapter 8.
Yeah.
Let's see how short this thing is.
Albia Celestia.
Oh yeah, Celestia's in this.
Wow, look at all our viewers.
How many do we
How many
have?
viewers?
Oh, that's so beautiful. 0.
Oh.
Hey, don't worry. People watch it on YouTube at least.
Yay.
Yeah, like 20, maybe, if we're lucky.
20.
Hey, that one has about 70 now.
Yeah, and then, like, none of the others ever do good.
November 12th. Excuse me, it's actually March 29th right now.
Not that. Never mind.
Yeah, I know.
You're pretty proud of your bad humor, aren't you?
Rarity woke the next day to the light of the princess' majestic sun creeping across the room and finally onto her bed. Where it informed her that it was morning and time to wake. The owner of the business opened her eyes and let go of the pillow that she was holding. like a long-time lover before stretching. Oh yeah, trying to Glotvic here.
Oh, really?
I'm joking. Lover before stretching out her hooves in different directions to
I
top
don't
her
know
bed.
duty boys anymore.
She felt tense, so sore, but then again, she always felt a little on edge whenever she had a visit from him. Yesterday was just a raising of the stakes. It wasn't just her life on the line anymore. She would have to be more careful next time. Her bed was ruffled, made slightly, pillow stained, but worst of all, she was hungry. She slipped off the She slipped off the
queen size bed.
I know, I heard something. Slipped off the queen size bed and onto the floor with 4 consecutive clicks of her hooves, and then rubbed her eyes. She bypassed her lavatory and vanity mirror to instead make her way to the hall outside and down to the first story. It was early. She had to clean up and become presentable before she opened the shop for the day. She walked into the kitchen, and sitting at her usual spot with a bowl before and a large box of cereal nearby, thankfully, was Sweetie Belle with her head on the table. The filly turned to the new arrival and yawned.
The filly. Oh, you left the stove on. Oh, is that my line?
Yes.
You left the stove on from last night. I threw out the hot cocoa. It smelled burnt.
Damn, that waste of delicious hot cocoa. Rarity cut to a gallop as she charged across the room and threw her hooves around Sweetie Belle from behind the chair, tying her down like a hostage. The smaller of the two looked around, trying to see the attacker in her blind spot, but could not break free. Rarity closed her eyes and rubbed her cheek against the side of Sweetie Belle's head, thankful for her safety.
What's gotten into you?
Asked the blank-flanked pony, sitting and trying to eat breakfast.
Oh, nothing,
replied her older sister, letting go and walking to her own seat and avoiding an incredibly awkward conversation. Sweetie Belle looked at her sister and cocked her head sideways at the strange, listless smile that she wore, but gave up and focused on her breakfast. Sweetie Belle, still eating generic store-brand cereal that Rarity stocked her pantry with, lifted up her hoof and grabbed onto the table and caught the newspaper on its surface. She dug through the stack and pulled out her favorite section, the comics. Rarity, using magic, pulled the leftover newspaper back and likewise began to read. But everything felt strangely similar, like she had seen it before. She kept flipping through the section, having a faint recollection of the topics and paragraphs, until she looked up and asked,
Sweetie Belle, just go to get the newspaper.
Her sister, with a mouthful of milk and crunchy whole grain circles, said,
I'm just reading yesterday.
Before swallowing. That explained it. Rarity was about to close the open newspaper when her eyes caught a certain section. It was the mansion fire from yesterday. A foreign rich pony was having a birthday party for his wife, and something started a fire. He was claimed to be the creator of some terrible drug that luckily hasn't reached Ponyville yet. A number of guests and the party hosts were still missing at the time of the paper's printing. Yeah, it's called the Flim Flam Tonic. Sorry, I just mentioned that. Really? Hey, come on. I mean, the new episode, the Flim Flam Tonic, and a new drug.
I know. I told it to placebo.
Rarity looked at the pictures of the articles again. One was so happy, the other so tragic. She may have been a sworn defender of equestria as an element of harmony, but she was upset with this image. No pony should ever suffer that fate. It seemed so terrible, but then there was this Mr. Medellin? Medellin. As wrong as she felt over his demise, if he was a bad...
Wait.
Yeah?
So if he ever has children, Would they be meddling kids?
and that what kind of dog would it be? What? A meddling dog.
Nice. If he was a bad pony making us drag and other nasty things, then the world may as well be a better place without him. As one of the elements, she was a defense mechanism against a certain type of threat. She was acting on behalf of all the world, not by politics or personal agendas. The adventures and actions she would have to perform were for the good for every pony. She never had to be the judge, the jury, or the executioner of any pony. Didn't she like that? But best of all, she always had her 5 other friends to be there to support her, as well as for her support to them. The idea of having to deal with this pony upset her already empty stomach, but luckily she did not need to deal with it. Called either fate or some higher power, the judgment of this Mr. Medlin was performed by something with much more importance than a simple dressmaker in this little old Ponyville. She diverted her attention back to the first photo of the paper of happy and worryless partiers entering the mansion, gay oblivious of the dangerous fire that may indeed come their lives later in the night. She had always wanted to attend a big private ball like that ever since she was a little filly. One day her dream came true when she was invited to the Grand Galloping Gala, which turned out quite well too, even though it did not end in the way she intended. She still could cross that off her bucket list. As she marveled at the handsome stallions in finely pressed tuxedos and mares in long dresses, she was strange as it sounded to recognize something. She squinted at the picture of guests at the party and had to blink to make sure she was not seeing something.
Aha!
I'll stop to do something.
Where are you going? Where are they going?
Okay.
Don't abandon us!
Huh?
Don't abandon us!
Sorry, my housemouth's annoying me. Let's see. She did recognize something. Near the background of the photo, walking in the opposite direction of a waiter carrying tall glasses of champagne, there was one certain pony that had caught her eye somehow. It was a green unicorn, frozen in mid-step. Where had she seen him before? She thought on it, and she did not recall any green unicorn stallions living in Ponyville. So what stuck out about him? Then she realized it. She did not recognize the pony, but what he was wearing, a fine 3-piece suit, one tailored to fit him perfectly, made with love and all sorts of tiny features that would strengthen the overall project. A one-of-a-kind article. It was her suit. She had made it for him. Rarity's first thought was,
why was he at the party?
But then quickly was changed to,
why was he at the party?
Rarity could not jump to conclusions, but seeing her mysterious customer at a party, a bad pony's party at that, the events of the mansion burning down also happened to unfold that very night. Her gut cut to the obvious. Whoever he was, he had dealings with this pixie sticks maker. What does the name? Wow. Something went wrong, and a fire may have been used as distraction to escape, or rather an excuse to cover his dirty deeds. That is an awesome name for a drug.
Done by she.
But once again, she had no proof of that. For all she knew, he was a play cult and was invited to the party. As strange as it sounded, she felt some strange reassurance that her client could have been a drug trafficker. It had as much possibility as a pony who was sent to stop Mr. Medlin by either diplomacy or force, just like how the fire could have been an accident or intentional. Rarity was getting ahead of herself. She looked at the picture once more and noticed that, like before, this pony was not the correct color. He was far away, but as far as she could tell, did not have wings underneath the jacket. He could have just been a unicorn in a fancy three-piece suit. There was no reason saying that somebody could have tried to replicate her masterpiece and sold it to this individual. But then the gears in her head began to fill her mind with doubt. Yeah, I locked it. Now go away. Go away. I'm reading. Go away.
What?
There was indeed... Hold still.
There was indeed...
What do you want?
Creatures?
Okay.
Where are you going?
Sorry, I had to get off for a second. Okay. But then the gears in her head began to fill her mind with doubt. There's indeed creatures that were named for this trickery and shapeshifting. She had nearly lost her life at the mercy of one. Changelings to her life. Rarity had never heard a spell that could use to change. Hold
You
still.
were really into this reading.
What's going on? I'm confused.
I think Maydrock has lost all. Like,
Can I read instead?
No, I'm back. It's
No,
just somebody
back.
keeps annoying me.
I can read then if you while you're trying to fix that.
No, throughout her life, Rarity had never heard a spell that could be used to change one's form or coat color. But that didn't mean one didn't exist. It could have been voodoo, a forbidden spell protected by a penalty of law, or a customer was a changeling. Now she was just being paranoid. What would a changeling want with a mind-altering narcotic maker? Like she thought before, what were the chances somebody saw her artwork and attempted to mimic it and did a fine job at it? She took a deep breath and let out slowly. It was like she had the previous suit on hand to check to see what it experienced in a lifetime. She did. Rarity got from Tailor and marched off to the store side of her house. Sweetie Belle pulled her head away from her comics and asked,
Hey, aren't you gonna have breakfast?
Her sister ignored her. Instead, Rarity made a beeline straight through her shop and to the counter from the night before, where the rags that were once one of her customers' Tailor suits lay dead and dismembered, ready to rip apart and brought back into service. She spread the ball of the cloth open and inspected it, and apart from the usual cuts, gashes, and red stains that could be either wine or blood, there was a heavy dust that seemed to stain an overall package. Well, once blood dries, you can definitely tell it's wine or blood. She dipped her nose down and sniffed. Black powder. She recognized it from when she would go act as a volunteer accountant and go shopping for fireworks for the Yama Ponyville celebration on behalf of the town. But other than that, there was another smell, a smell that went deep into her brain on the primal instinctive level and frightened her fight or flight mechanics. It was the same smell that, even if washed 100 times, could never be purged from clothing. Smoke. Well, it could just be a smoker. This was a new development.
Yeah, but that smells completely different.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, they won't ruin their lungs.
He could have indeed been at the party. This changed everything. Rarity felt excited, but in a bad way. She had a new lead. With such strangely lucky chance to spot him in the background of the picture. What would she do now? She couldn't know what the newspapers would be hosts to this unwanted appearance. Plus, Rarity could not just simply order the next dozen newspapers at once. But she did not know where a large stock of newspapers was.
She did.
Oh, she did know. She went to her top window and looked straight out, aiming to the town square, specifically a hollowed-out tree that doubled as the Ponyville Library. Oh, I guess Twilight's coming in. She used her hoof and twisted the bolt on the door, switching it to allow the door to open. Rarity pulled it open outside when she heard a voice. So once
Rarity! What are you doing?
She turned. Sweetie Belle was standing around the corner of the shop watching her. She didn't have time to elaborate excuses.
I just remember something. I'll be right back.
And she was off. Rarity bounced her weight between her hooves as she tiptoed in place before the door. The anticipation was killing her. She hadn't been this nervous since her high school prom. She knocked again and reared up to look through the window at the top of the door. The knock clicked, and sure enough, her friend opened the door. Twilight opened the door, and as far as his safety chain allowed it to go before speaking.
Who's gonna read it? Twilight.
I can read it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the library's closed until... Oh! Hey, Rarity.
She closed the door, disengaged the safety measures, and opened it all the way.
What brings you... My goodness. What happened to you?
It was at that moment Rarity remembered that she had done nothing to make herself presentable to any pony besides her sister. Oh, so you don't care about your sister? How nice.
Really?
Come on, like you don't think you can like look however you want to in front of your family? You don't care if your hair is nice.
Your hair, like, oh wow, nice hair.
It was sickening, but she hoped her indecent exposure had not tarnished her image to every pony.
Is everything alright?
Twilight asked. The white mare thought quickly, and then she had an idea.
I jog in the morning, yes. Before everybody's up for the day, I get my exercise in and then get cleaned up for the day.
Oh, okay. What brings you here?
Twilight stepped aside and Rarity walked in.
I just wanted to look at something. Where do you keep the old newspapers?
Twilight pointed to a side door between two bookshelves that were carved into the tree.
Right down here. There. Is there something I can help you with?
Oh no, I'm the one intruding.
She claimed, hoping her friend could take the hint.
Please, I should be able to help myself. Just turn to your morning routine.
She went to the door and closed it tight behind her. Sure she was now going to be left alone. Rarity swiped her hoof around the wall by the door until she felt something besides petrified wood. She flipped a switch, and upon a dozen magical candles lit the way down the spiral tree into the root basement.
Oh, that's cool. Just magic light switch.
Mm-hmm.
Magic light switch.
Yeah. She descended the stairs until she had reached the bottom, and as Twilight promised, a large stockpile of newspapers wrapped a string in a group of 10 by date were collected in a large, neat cube. There was just too many newspapers to get through in one sitting. Too many to get through without raising some sort of suspicion. So she had to do the illogical thing and grabbed about a dozen round packages of newspaper and broke the first bow. She could read every story fully or inspect every single picture in the issue, so instead she glanced at headlines that sounded like they would possibly fit her culprit and stuck mainly to them. Her first 5 searches were busts, nothing too interesting. And then the one she did check did not have pictures that showed her any ponies that looked to be wearing her clothing. But then she found something that interested her in the Cane de Trot business report. She saw a little title that begged to be inspected. The Hearts and Hooves Day Massacre. Wow. Its title. She glanced
The Valentine's Day Massacre.
She glanced through the article and made a brief summary. The story was about one of 5 Detroit crime families. Key members had rented their private back room at a fancy Italian restaurant. For the night as they dined with their wives and discussed business, there was strange sounds coming from the room. And then the waiter investigated every mare and stallion present was dead. Ugh. She investigated the picture. Some ponies snapped the shot while looking at the restaurant. Several paramedics were carrying out covered boards, hiding deceased ponies beneath them. The restaurant was cleared, and all the diners were gathered around the outside watching the procession of the medics. And we all know where those dead bodies are going, to the glue factory.
No!
I had to say it. At first she scanned...
Really? You're a dick.
I know. Hey, where does glue in Ponyville even come from?
I don't know.
Yeah, see. At first she scanned every face and every stallion, but did not find her suit. But then she opened her mouth to both genders, and she immediately found it. There was a teal Pegasus mare wearing a fancy vest and shirt, strangely blankly outside the building as police ponies taped off the area and medics carried covered bodies out to the ambulance with the rest of the crowd. She started flipping through more newspapers, trying to find more stories that fit her target's MO. And as she wished she had found it, 9 newspapers later, she was looking through the New York Times, especially in the international. So I just, these pony puns are just wow. Emergency questioning royal guards thought assassination attempt on key witness in the Dvarki genocide trials. She skimmed the article. A detachment of solar guards were sent to protect refugee after an assassination attempt almost claimed his life. The picture below it was of the outside and the hospital looking to the main lobby. Police officers were everywhere. News reporters as well as gatherers were suspecting what they were doing inside. She looked closer at all of them. Through a side window next to the main entrance, she could see a blue earth pony stallion in a jacket. There were no bumps where wings would be. Was sitting in a waiting room reading newspaper, or so it seemed. 11 newspapers later, she was in the Counter-Lot Times. Ponies?
Really? Japanese?
Oh, Japanese. Wow. Spy
Really?
Spy killed resisting capture after attempting to steal from Celestia's intelligence agency. The story was as it seemed from the title. The Japanese National Party publicly denied any knowledge of the act and declared the rogue agent terrorist acting on its own accord. This picture was not very good. It looked to be a general photography shot by a passerby before a professional could arrive. It was shaky and out of focus, but still she found it. A white-winged unicorn with rolled-up sleeves was walking away from the scene as law enforcement attempted to create a crime scene. Even if it was still an image, she seemed awfully calm, but that made Rarity's stomach twist in knots. Was the fact that he was carrying a briefcase in his mouth. After 2 more stinkers, she was back to international newspapers. She stopped at a headline that read, "Griffin slave ship explodes off Stag Coast."
And Gabe was never seen again.
Don't you dare say that.
She did not even waste the time reading the article. She was already scanning the picture. She had heard of the place before. The Stag Coast was a tourist attraction. Some resorts resided besides the water of the ocean. Even though she could not see smoke from a ship billowing in the distance, the real focus of the picture was that both vacationers and staff of multiple species in the water of the beach, pulling starved, kidnapped creatures to the sand. There was a black unicorn mare in a suit coat, drenched in salt water, performing CPR to a zebra on the beach.
Not that kind of CPR.
She didn't even know how many papers she rifled through this time. Nor what the name of the paper was all she cared about was the title.
Don't you dare say that, shut up!
Equestrian, Doral, police, and royal guards break up Las Pegasus police protection racket. Like something before the picture had been taken by an amateur photographer. From this perspective, it was safe to say that this pony was looking through a window when they snapped their pic. She looked intentionally at the scene, and It was a warehouse. Several police officers were on the ground, tied at their hoofs, and those with wings and horns had been braced. Standing above them was several ponies. Some were wearing military-grade metal armor, the letters EFP clearly for every pony to see. There were golden clad royal guards, but also there were other mares and stallions. Anybody want to guess what EFP stands for?
Probably a question of federal police, like it says in the title. Taking a wild guess there.
Oh yeah. She had seen the elite guard before during one of her many trips to Camelot. The other guards were easily distinguishable by their batty features or mangy-looking coats. The solo guards, wearing their own unique armor, were almost causing glare to distort the pictures because of their armor's properties. But sticking out to them all, standing next to a large suitcase full of money, possibly the bait in the operation, was a navy blue winged unicorn wearing a three-piece suit. He was in the act of raising his hoof at the camera, almost as he was trying to shield his face from its view, open, seeing the flash. This was her client, no doubt about it. She could easily recognize his partially covered face wearing her suit.
Oh, Rarity, are you okay down there?
Called Twilight from the entranceway.
You've been down there for 3.5 hours.
Rarity had no idea how much time she wasted searching through the surprisingly large stack of newspapers she had found surrounding her.
Holy shit. Oh. Well, outside flies when you're having fun.
She lied.
I'm coming up now.
She had chased down a lead, and that resulted to more leads. She was the only one that could find the similarities in these events. No point in the right mind would be able to see the correlation between her suits and those actions as concrete and solid evidence of her client. But that didn't stop her. Every answer she had found only led to more questions, and with that, even more theories, for as much as she understood about this enigmatic customer first, the more she found that she knew nothing about him. She stood up and left the mess she made, knowing Twilight and Spike, they could probably enjoy cleaning it all up. She made her way to the spiral staircase that led to the exit and looked back at where she had been sitting for the last 3.5 hours. She smiled to herself. No pony understand it, but she deserved a pat on the back for her strides. Forward she made progress. She looked back down at the bottom of the basement, namely the mounted newspapers that sat calmly, waiting for her to break their bow and search through them. As good as she felt about her discoveries, one question crushed all that hope in one swift motion. How far behind was she?
Why is Rolling Stones on here?
I have no idea. Hold still.
I mean, sympathy for the devil.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it makes sense of the story or something. Anyways, chapter 9.
We can't read it. We can't listen to it because we'd get in trouble.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
of YouTube.
Stupid YouTube
Yeah, we
rules.
don't want to be in trouble.
Speaking of which, the whole Hasbro thing's getting really annoying.
Oh boy, we're on.
Watch it.
Oh boy, look what chapter we're on.
Adult language is seen as past this point. Viewer discretion advised. You have been warned. This is the section that changes the rating from E to T. Well, it just says T, so it doesn't seem like clop.
You guys do realize that it's past 2, right? It's like you guys have been reading for an hour, right?
Where the hell have you been?
I was just not. I didn't think I was gonna be able to make it.
Yeah, well, Ben, since this.
I'd be here for about 15 minutes, just listening.
Well, Ben, since this is the last week of Rarity Month, we're trying to finish the story in this stream.
Not gonna.
Okay.
Oh, and since Ben is here, he can switch over to narrator, and I'll be back to Esbrock.
Actually, I kind of just want to listen.
Okay.
I'll be narrator.
You want to be a narrator?
I'll be narrator.
I'll listen. I'll listen and provide small commentary.
I'll be narrator.
Ben can do any sound effects in the story.
Yes, I'll do sound effects. Just tell me when you need a sound effect done, and I'll do it.
Okay, thank you for taking.
Whenever we say sound effect words.
March 15th.
Okay, thank you for taking over.
Because I'm playing Skyrim while you guys are doing this.
Okay, can I read?
Yeah. Oh wait, one thing. If you guys want to stop, if it gets to anything bad, it's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Ben, if you start yelling because you're playing Skyrim, I will kick you.
March 15th. Just
That's
as in paradise. Zulu lay on his stretched back atop his old, moldy, and stained mattress. One of his bitches, for that was all she was to him, was at his side on the bed, rubbing his chest. They had just finished a session, and by the way, she felt down his back black and white stripes. It meant that she enjoyed it as much as he did. Zulu was not tired, nor was he trying to relax. On the contrary, he was just trying to make his good mood even better. He was the king at this moment, and it was good to be king. There was a knock on the metal wall beside the entranceway to his room that was covered by hanging beads.
Hey boss, they're here.
Zulu smiled, showing his nasty broken teeth as he sat up. His bitch playfully failed to pull him back as she whined over his departure.
Stay in bed, bitch.
He ordered.
Daddy's coming back soon.
He walked out of his throne room and made his way through the rusted-out and beat ship that he and his gang called home. He made his way through the maze of rusted metal until he found one particularly musty and dank room. At one point, this part of the ship was the cargo hold. So in a fitting manner, this is where he kept his precious cargo. He made his way to some of his crew of muscle-bound dumbasses, also zebras, and made sure they were paying attention to their package. As big as their reputation as dumbasses went, they were too busy stuffing their faces with nachos to care if their one fucking job got up and walked away. Zulu walked over to what his table of dumbasses was supposed to be watching, and picked up a bucket of piss in his teeth by the handle. Right in front of him were two ponies, blindfolded, gagged, and tied with their legs on the ground, and front hooves above their heads. The neats looked nice, so it was only nice to give them a bath. He threw the bucket immediately on the impact of the liquid on their coats. Both captives shot awake.
Wakey, wakey, bitches.
He taunted. The two fought against the ropes, but after a few seconds they both relaxed and quit their bitchy whining. According to their IDs, the blondie Pegasus was named Missy Frankfurt, and her taupe unicorn friend was Autumn Leaves, but for all he cared, they should have been named Bitch Number 1 and Bitch Number 2. Zulu walked up and whispered into Missy's ear.
Let's hope Daddy's gonna pay this time, bitch.
The response he got back, and Annie was a muffled sob and shake of her body against her bonds. He turned and looked at the other bitch. She wasn't the cash cow like her rich friend was, so she got a lot more use than the other one. Other than the general signs of wear and tear, Zulu could see she was getting fat. And it wasn't like they were feeding her more.
Oh, fuck.
He snarled as he walked away. He told his crew they could have fun with the second bitch, but this was too far. He was going to have one of those dumbasses make her into a punching bag later. He walked away from his two investments, and to a certain door leading out of the hold, there, a tall, handsome, and muscular zebra was waiting for him with an equally evil smile.
You ready?
Don't ask me stupid fucking questions, Ambrose.
He smacked his subordinate. Like always, the two laughed and threw hooves around each other's shoulders. They opened the door and walked to a room with a big meeting table and the rest of their crew, about 4 more zebras, standing around it. As always, Zapro stood beside Zulu as they waited. A hanging light swayed just a tiny bit from where the waves rushed up and slowly shook the beach ship. Zulu loved bitches, especially the dumb kind. They all came to the resort a long ways down the beach looking for fun. The two dumb bitches in the back were no exception. They all thought they owned the place and that they were as safe back home. So two rich bitches on spring break would naturally throw caution to the wind when they were approached by Zapro soon after settling in. He'd done this so many times, it was nothing.
Want to go smoke some Black Island Bush? Do you have a few pixie sticks? Oh, am I still reading? Oh, sorry. Want to party? Go down the beach with me?
Just hook, line, sinker, and one dumb bitch. And like all the rich Daddy's bitches, Daddy was going to get her out of this one. One of the zebras opened the door across the room. The other three moved to the sides of the table to showcase some of Zulu's extra muscle that he had on standby. As expected, a pony walked in. The new arrival made its way to the table and set a briefcase down and opened it with hooves. Zulu caught himself staring. Of all things, a bitch was standing on the other side of the table with a briefcase. He looked harder, and sure enough, his eyes were not joking. A bitch was there with a ransom for the other two bitches. She had an athletic build to her, like a he-bitch, and she was also wearing a big, stuffy-looking suit, like Agent 00 Donut from those movies they have bootlegged. She undid her suit jacket and set it down on the table and stared back at Zulu. He held his laugh when he thought of the irony of this situation. He guessed she was one of those bitches that grew up being told that she was as good as a stallion. This task was just part of her ego. She clung to that claim like it was a fact, but she was wrong. She was a bitch and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The zebra who opened the door walked across the room and past the pony he let in. He walked from the table and stood next to his leader, but looked in the opposite way.
Who's the bitch?
Zulu asked.
She said she was here for the twos in the back.
Zulu looked at his gang member and then at the negotiator, who stared back at him.
She back at anything?
The zebra who acted as the door stallion smiled, showing its yellow teeth and receding gum line.
Yeah, look at these pretty little pieces.
He opened up the tattered old work apron full of pockets and pulled out his two new trophies, a black switchblade and a shiny metal blade and a fixed combat knife with a handle that looks like it was made of pearls.
And I got this one too.
He reached further into his makeshift inventory and pulled out a chain that led to a ticking pocket watch. He looked back at his new possession as if it were the key to the meaning of life. He had probably never seen anything this valuable before.
Mine!
Zulu snapped as he ripped it out of the other zebra's mouth.
Get to your spot.
He demanded as he pushed a now angry gang member away. The one wearing the apron was about to protest, to attack him, and get his precious gold watch back, but he knew better than to attack Zulu. Instead he turned, and like with the other ransoms, he walked over and stood beside the negotiator, making sure she was surrounded on both sides by crossbow-wielding guards. Zulu turned his attention to the bitch who had entered a few moments earlier and spat. Who the fuck are you?
Whoa.
Oh, you're who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you?
Here's your payment, she stated sternly, sliding the case around at her host.
We tell Ben to turn down the sound.
Yeah, we doubled your amount to convince you to go away.
Honestly. Got it.
We doubled your amount to convince you to go away. Zulu and Zapdos looked at the big case full of finely printed white gold equestrian bits. Each one stamped to represent they were worth 100 normal bits. Zapdos' pupils practically turned to dollar signs, but his leader was not as enthused. No pony, especially some bitch, told him what to do.
No.
He said.
No, what's going on?
The negotiator narrowed her eyes and stared at the pony across the table with a falcon's focus. I don't think you know who you're fucking with.
No.
He shouted back.
I'm the one who's calling the shots here, bitch. Nobody tells me what to do, especially you. The amount's gone up, and if Daddy doesn't like it, I'll send a starter back one piece at a time after I'm done with her.
Zulu waved for the bitch to get angry and frown, throw a fit, or just come to the realization that she wasn't going to get her way. Any of those actions would make him happy. But counter to what the zebra wanted, the mare smiled, rolled her eyes, and hid a chuckle behind the cream sleeve of her dress shirt. You think you're in control? Sorry to break it to you, but no. This isn't about Missy Frankfurter Autumn Leaves. The Princess of Equestria has sent me to deal with you. Personally, if it were up to me, I would have blown you away with a single strike from one of the Navy's destroyers. Sadly, my boss says you're not worth the money it takes to adjust a cannon, much less its payload. So instead, they sent me instead. Zulu's good mood from earlier was completely gone. Now just filled with the rage that he was known for. He was not just some common thug. This bitch was lying.
Which bitch? The big white one or the small blue bitch?
He shot. The distasteful names of Equestrious rulers bounced off Pegasus. Princess Celestia, if you must know. Zulu began a forced hearty laugh. His 5 other cronies joined in.
Now I know you're bullshitting, bitch. That bitch? Come on, she's pathetic.
He threw the top of the briefcase down and slid it back to its owner. The 6 zebras all watched the target of their humiliation. She blinked and looked at the briefcase. She looked back up and let the corner of her lip curl. You'd be surprised. She began to fiddle with the briefcase's locks again and open it again. In the meantime, Zulu couldn't keep his eyes off of her. No bitch makes fun of him and gets away with it. He began to think of how to deal with this wannabe comedian. As soon as she tried to leave, his crew was going to jump her, and after they were done with her, she was going to be tied up near the room with the other 2 hostages. The mayor looked back and slid the briefcase back to her host. This is your last chance. Take the money or leave it. As soon as it stopped, Zulu shouted.
No pony tells me what to do, bitch.
The negotiator widened her stance, spurted her wing out and growled, Don't you dare close my fucking briefcase again! Zulu reached to slam it down, but Zappos pulled it over to him. He smirked the other party in the deal and mused, one of to slowly and deliberately close the briefcase. He shouldn't have done that.
Ew. Wow, this story took a completely different turn.
I know! I mean, like, what happened to Rarity and all that stuff? They were, like, in negotiation and hostages?
Maybe this will, like, have some sort of impact later.
Well, I mean, I would imagine so. Either that or
I could see that too,
the writers got really bored.
Continue?
Yeah. Speaking of the story, this story actually ended like not that long ago. Like it only just finished a few weeks ago.
Interesting.
Anyway, now I'll mute my mic again.
Up to you. The mayor of the dead were mere milliseconds before the top of the briefcase and the bottom section. As the 2 halves met, a spark ignited. Without any warning, the container shot wide open and a blinding white light rocked the area. To any of the unprepared who did not see the flash, they were brought to the ground by the equally paralyzing bang that followed. The poor fool had closed the case, was sent away with golden coins cutting into his head.
Ouch.
The vest-wearing mayor rose to a weird position while dust and ether still hung in the air, but unlike before, a large purple serrated blade was held in her teeth. She took a quick elbow to the neck of the sun guard on the left, stunning.
Hold on, purple serrated blade. Isn't that something that Esbrock had?
Probably. Esbrock's gender
Using her 2
confused.
other hooves, she manhandled her dazed, confused opponent to the right and forced him onto the table. She jerked her head 3 times, and 3 times the sharp blade dug deeper and deeper into his chest. Fatal damage. When she was done, the guard on the left had enough time to finally bring his hooves to his throat and begin to choke on his own saliva. She spat her knife out of her mouth and reached into her suit pocket. Counter to gravity, the knife floated beside her on its own accord, but it wasn't like any pony was able to notice. Using her hooves, she pulled out an inconspicuous plastic bag. It had a zip tie already set to 1 notch around the opening, waiting to tie it closed. She slipped it over the kneeling in pain zebra's head, bit the tie, and pulled it as tight as she could. One swift roundhouse kick to the head later, and it was on to the next threat. By this time, one of the 2 guards occupying the far center area of the room had enough of a disoriented thought to grab the revolving styled crossbow rifle that hung from his neck and fired at the blur coming his way. He did not shoulder the weapon. Instead, he simply fired from his hip like he had seen in the movies. His aim was clumsy, and too soon, the attacking mayor did not even need to dodge. She kept running and disabled his weapon hoof, restraining it from interacting with the weapon's action again, and slid it behind his back. The floating ghost-like blade found its way against his throat, and it kicked to his back leg, sent him to his bottom. Restraining his hoof, knife to his throat, and balance completely lost, he was in no way able to fight her as she sat him up in a sitting, weird position, using his body to cover hers. From across the room, his mirror guard had been wearing a pair of stolen sunglasses. One of the lenses was completely gone, but the mere fact that one of his eyes was covered let him recover a fraction faster than anyone else. He wasn't going to let this mare live. Money or not, she was dead. He brought his crossbow to his shoulder, aimed, and shouted,
Nah, bitch.
Die, bitch.
He pulled his hook. This plan. The mare let her reluctant partner take the bolt to the chest. The shield screamed in pain, shouting so many obscenities that could not be determined when one began and another ended. The shooter kept repeating his own curses as he pulled the slide and set the string back in place and revolved the action to another loaded chamber. The action, while thoughtful and was in vain, the mare extended her right wing as far as she could before flapping it straight out. 3 diamond-shaped blades danced across the air and found their way into the crossbow-wielding zebra's gut, chest, and throat. An earth-shattering scream emanated.
Kaboom.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. An earth-shattering scream emanated from the pony who had gained an arrow in his chest from friendly fire. The mare shifted her attention down and decided to end her victim's suffering. The knife was relieved from his throat and went to the air by its own accord, blade first. It struck through his neck and, as intended, stopped the screams. She let go of her shield. His head fell forward, and shortly after, the body followed. She scanned left to right. There were no immediate threats to address, only 4 zebras on the floor for varying reasons. She walked across the room, bypassing the table, and stopping at the thug who shot his friend in an attempt to kill her. She stood over him, struggling. His eyes were gigantic and full of fear. Blood was pooling from his mouth. His hooves were trying to recover the wound of the bladed metal currently occupied. Her purple knife floated to her side. It was time to end his suffering. She placed the large purple blade pointed first over his eye, in which his sunglasses had a missing lens. In, out. It was over.
Ouch.
Now that he was dead, she shifted her attention a little
Jesus.
lower, specifically at the old revolver-styled crossbow that was now lying on the ground. It wasn't like he was going to use that anymore. The floating knife found its bloody way to its hidden sheath and resumed its resting nature, waiting for its master to call it again. Now, the crossbow began a life of its own and floated up to the mare. The chamber was loaded, and there were 3 more arrows in reserve. Zulu had no idea what was going on. It was just a flash of light that was burned into his vision. 1 second, Zapdos was closing the bitch's briefcase. The next thing he saw was an engraving of Zapdos being blown away by a blinding white light. He didn't know why, but he was on his back, sprawled out flat on the floor. He couldn't hear anything. The light that hung in the center of the room was swaying back and forth. He turned his head. To his horror, Zapdos had his mouth wide open, screaming complete silence as blood fell from the coins that are now a part of his head. He looked around, and he didn't like what he saw. He needed to get help. He had his extra muscle-headed dumbasses in the back. Their job was to help them if they had any trouble. Where the fuck were they? Zulu flipped over and put one hoof in front of the other, crawling with his front hooves across the floor to the door that he had come from. He just kept focusing on putting one hoof in front of the other, reaching for as much of the damp and rusted floor as he could with each hoof to get to the door to the cargo hold. He kept crawling, making progress for salvation, but his hearing returned to him as he tried to escape. He did not like what he heard. Thrashing, slicing, shooting, screaming, dying. None of which sounded like it was coming from the bitch. He made it to the door, but it was closed. He punched his hoof out with as much force as he could, trying to attract the attention of the zebras on the other side.
Open up, you dumbasses.
He screamed.
Open up.
He turned his head around and shrieked. Almost every pony was dead. The only survivors were
Keep reading,
Zapdos.
I have to answer the phone, just keep reading.
The only survivors were Zapdos, but he was too concerned about his own survival to notice the crazy bitch with a crossbow floating beside her that was approaching him. He turned and banged against the door as hard as he could.
Open, motherfucker.
He turned back, and the bitch was stepping around Zapdos, re-racking the crossbow. The muscular zebra was no longer struggling. An arrow, as well as a couple hundred pushing bits, were sticking out of his head. He threw both hooves out, and finally the door opened, but not to what he wanted. His extra muscle was indeed in the room, but each one of them was on the ground, clutching their stomachs, blood and vomit staining around their mouths, and everywhere else they had vomited, almost like they had been poisoned, still steaming from before were the nachos that they were eating earlier. Zulu turned onto his back again and propped himself up. As he feared, the bitch was standing right in front of right before him, still slowly walking towards him. He looked through her legs, and he saw the only zebra that was still among the living through them. From the other side of the table, he could see the last of his gang members. A foggy bag was coming over his head like a mask, a bag that was hardly moving anymore. He had given up on trying to free himself. It was over. He looked back up at the mare before him. The crossbow found its way up to her hooves. He looked at her features, blood-stained her shirt, vest shirt. Wear and tear had ripped the left sleeve of her shirt. For no reason, a green glow encased the rearing mare with a crossbow, making her a bit taller. The color coat to navy blue, a horn now atop the head, and increasing the amount of muscles by a little bit, filling out the vest and shirt more, and more importantly, changing the gender from female to male?
Yep, changeling.
S-Rock.
The butt of the crossbow met flushing the stallion's shoulder. He closed an eye and firmed its grip around the action. Zulu blinked his staring eyes and closed his open mouth.
What the fuck are you?
There was no speech, no answer, no long-winded showing of ego, or gloating about playing perceptions and expectations against a force with more numbers, nothing from the navy blue-winged unicorn. Only firming of aim, a tightening of a grip, a pressing of a hoof, and a releasing of an arrow. Target neutralized.
Rest in
Neutralized.
peace.
Rest in
Mission
peace.
complete.
Damn! I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was hardcore.
It was the night of the streets. It was night on the streets of Canterlot. Many of the stores throughout this proud capital city were closed. Only a few food service and convenience stores still had their lights on at this hour, even if their employees were all half asleep. Besides the occasional law enforcement officer walking down a street lit sidewalk and the sleepy night shift employee heading home, the city was all but dead. But there was one particular mare who trotted down the street at a relaxed pace and had a quite quaint smile on her lips as she made her way home. There was nothing unusual about the pony being happy about coming home after working their late night shift at work, especially if they were accustomed to being held back for hours on the drop on a hat. But something was wrong. Not now, it was not anything wrong about her specifically walking home at night after work, but instead what wasn't there? A chaperone. Canterlot may have the rights to brag that it was one of the safest days in Equestria, but good mothers still taught their daughters never to go out alone at night. There was just too much risk. Danger that no pony would ever want to leave up the chance of what would happen to a mare walking alone in the dark when the rest of the population slept. But that is what made this mare so peculiar. She was not from Equestria. She had left her home many years ago to live in a place that was supposed to be better than the failing infrastructure that her old country had become. Even if she moved up, there were still a few things that she could not change from what her government had taught her while growing up. In their society, there was no need to fear the night. They said that leaving a door unlocked was just as safe as if one had locked it, and a stranger was simply a person that one had not met before. That every pony was to be a productive member of society, and that ones that were not acting as such were relocated. The mare kept walking, a slight smile across her face as she did so. In the old country, ignorance was bliss. Bad things happened to bad ponies for a reason. She was a mother of 3, and a grandmother to 2 more, a supportive wife, and a good citizen. Why would something bad happen to her? She had nothing to fear. She walked her way across the fine white concrete sidewalks of Canterlot. She passed by the local park near her home as a cool breeze slipped through the playground and rocked the seats back and forth on the nearby swing set. It felt as if a cool mist of water hit her when the same breeze passed by, bouncing off her white uniform, but helpfully keeping her awake on the stroll home. She walked to the correct intersection, turning down the right street, and walking down the row of houses until she finally found her own. The wrought iron safety gate opened and closed behind her. She slipped up to the front door. She reached for the knob and turned, but the door didn't open. Puzzled, she looked at the door curiously. She was the last one to leave the house. It should have been unlocked, but then she saw it, a small piece of parchment, hanging from the front door by a strip of tape. Mom, I came as soon as I got your message. I took Justice home with me when you didn't show up. I'll walk him to school in the morning. Send a letter if you are still going to need needed at the hospital. Love, Declaration. Justice and Declaration.
This pony's from America.
I'm sorry.
America!
So what Em and I was focusing on something else.
Well, we just meant like the original.
Named Declaration, and the Declaration has a child named Justice. Americans.
Yep. America!
Fuck yeah! The mother inside of her smiled with relief that her daughter got the message that she had sent early in the day. Thankful, she decided to pack her house key. She reached into her vest pocket, her nose pushed past a few golden bits, but eventually found her house key. The door opened on finely oiled hinges as the white earth pony entered and closed the door behind her. She did not even think to lock the door. The aging white mare with the pink mane walked through her home. In one way, she felt lonely. She had been working almost all the day tirelessly. She wanted to have some sort of interaction, not between her co-workers, but something more intimate, personal. It had not even been a minute, but she had missed her son. She wanted to see her twin daughters, be greeted with joy by her granddaughters, or at least see her husband again, but the house was empty. Yet, for as strange as it sounded, there was another side of her that somewhat rejoiced at the fact that there was no pony else in the house. For most of her days, she felt that she had never had any privacy. At work, she was always surrounded by the other mares, even though they were not necessarily her friends. Her husband and she would usually spend most of their free days together, but not necessarily doing anything too exciting. As shameful as she felt thinking about it, she felt as if she had been playing the role of mother for as long as she has lived in Equestria. But then again, that is what happens when one has children almost 2 decades apart from each other. What?
Dire.
She works it.
Ork it. Woohoo!
The clock in the living room rang to remind her of the late hour that she had wandered home at. It wasn't like she could go across the city to bring her son home. Chances are he was already sleeping. Oh wait, that was the daughter was watching her son. My bad. Who needs her son justice?
I don't know.
Apparently ponies.
Yeah.
No, there are probably some real people
Yeah.
that name their son Justice too in real life.
That only left her to stop sulking and try to enjoy her short-term freedom. The homeowner walked into her kitchen and put some pre-sliced white bread, another thing that Equestria had over the old country. Back home, there was only one type of bread, into the toaster and slid the knob into place. When the coils began to glow red, she turned around and made her way through her house, past the closed windows with drawn curtains, a lamp that sat dormant. She bypassed the hall that led to the rest of the house and instead to her own bedroom. By the door, a tall coat rack stood up in the corner and gladly held her white nurse's uniform. Oh, she's a nurse. Okay.
So, Nora, by the way, it's 9:30.
Oh, I should get going.
See ya. Have fun.
Bye, guys.
I think we've read enough.
Yeah, I guess this call's pretty much over now, isn't it?
Well, we should finish this chapter, at least.
I could be the narrator.
Okay, Josh will be the narrator now.
Where
So, she walked around the bed.
She walked around the bed and into the master bathroom, swiping left in the location of the magic candle that lit the tile floor of the room up in the bright light. She closed the door behind her and turned the shower on. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Waiting in the corner, she took a moment to marvel at another thing that always amazed her. She looked at the shower, but did not find this amazing anomaly over the fact... Sorry, my brother. She looked at the shower, but did not find this amazing anomaly over the fact that there was running water, but instead that it was so warm that steam was rising from it. It was wasteful. How many other, that is perfect grammar, how many other would go hungry and starve to death in the street for one gluttonous slob to have a warm shower? When she first used the shower of her new home, she thought that the police were going to come and arrest her for being so selfish. Jeez, it's like a tongue twister there. Her teachers in school said that luxury should be shared, not abused such as this. Citizens did not have a place to live, let alone warm running water. Okay. But in Equestria, she had numerous things that a younger self would only think were reserved for royalty. Warm water, sliced bread, a whole house to one family being the enemy was not as bad as she was led to believe. She shook her head.
The enemy?
Equestria was no longer the enemy. That war ended years ago. Sure, she would remember the good times, think of the lessons that she had learned and the things she could not take for granted while her children would not understand, but she could not deny that her life was better on the other side. A chill took her spine with the next thought. The thoughts of what may have happened if she had not defected. She would no longer be Freedom Redheart, residential nurse at Canterlot Children's Hospital, mother of 3, faithful wife. If she
Redheart? Huh.
Yeah, I mean, white coat, pink mane.
I didn't hear the pink mane part.
If she had stayed, she would have probably been dead. A nameless body in the back of a wagon being carried off to the place where nobody returns. Just another victim of the plague. With 2 little ponies in her belly.
She ate them?
Yes, Maydrock, she ate them.
I'm joking.
Shut up, Maydrock.
She awoke from her pondering as the steam began to cloud the mirror beside her. She stepped into the shower, threw her hair tie aside, and extended the shower curtain from wall to wall. Dang it. The warm water hit her bosom, causing her to moan with delight. Holy cow. I think I just saw the clapping part. Is that what we're getting into? She stepped forward and let the streams of water hit her higher on the neck until it met with her scalp, flowing through her pink mane and bangs. There was no way to express how good it felt to her. Warm water had a magical way of relieving the stress of an emergency double shift. She just stood for a moment, allowing the water to fill her open mouth and then overflow down her chest once more. She closed her eyes and allowed the constant rumble of water to distract.
Wait. Doesn't Redheart live in Ponyville?
Maybe she was just like. I mean, she's a nurse. Maybe she gets sent around.
Maybe.
She closed her eyes and allowed the constant rumble of water to distract her and take her away to a state of nirvana. But, for as good as it felt, she should not have done that. She should not have left her back to the door. She should not have left the toaster running. She should not have let herself be so easily distracted. Just like she should not have left the front door to her house unlocked for the world to enter. The bathroom door opened slowly, silently. Not a chance in a million that the pony using the shower could hear it open.
Oh God.
Through the mostly opaque sheet that was now even more clouded with steam, a shadow began to be casted against the shower curtain, the magic candle doing its best to try to warn the mare that she was no longer alone. The mare spit out her water and began to move, trying to focus on other portions of her body. From the shadow, a large knife began to rise slowly in the air. Nurse Redheart turned her head, reaching into the shower caddy for a soap, when she saw the
Psycho murder music.
Psycho.
Dun 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 dun.
Wow.
How the...
She pulled the curtain aside, reaching for the plunger to use as a club. But then she got a better look at the shadow that was holding the knife outside of her shadow. Heart racing at a mile a minute, she noticed that the intruder of her bathroom was not nearing the shadow, but the closet beside it instead. Standing with a long clothesline of hangers and several garments being put away was a certain navy blue winged unicorn.
Ugh.
His head was turned, studying the mare that was shooting her naked body with a curtain, and had just screamed at him. He remained calm, turning his head back to the task before him, and put his large purple knife into his holster, and then placed them on their correct hanger.
You left the front door unlocked.
Was all he said. Nurse Redheart, feeling as if she would be ending the night in the hospital, shouted in her native tongue, "Peace! You almost gave me a heart attack."
Sorry.
He replied, not pausing at all as he undressed. Man, this is... Right. Freedom lost her footing and sat down in the shower, her tingling skin ignoring the pleasantly warm rain around her. She gave a few breaths and finally began to calm down again. The door to the bathroom opened and closed again. She could see that she was alone once again. Most husbands would knock, enter with a bouquet of flowers, or meet their wives with a kiss.
Wait.
What?
What? S-Brock is married to Redheart.
Yeah? You got a problem with it? Leave.
Just a bit weirded out, just saying.
Yet for as loyal, faithful, and a good stallion the father of her children was, those things meant almost nothing to him when he had prior business. And that was what was so peculiar about her relationship to her husband. She did not necessarily know why, but she knew that, without a doubt, he loved her. But to him, there was nothing wrong with sneaking into the bathroom and adjusting with his newly made suit before he got it dirtied. He did absolutely everything she asked him to. Ooh. Everything, eh?
Shut up, Josh.
But at the same time, it was as if he was not a real pony. It's what made her family somewhat different from the other Canterlot. Apparently there's only 2 families in Canterlot, because, you know. She could never truly gossip about how her husband's antics got her nerves. Their children could not brag or bash about how great or poorly their father was when he gave them gifts or dealt punishments. My daddy gave me the head of a pony he killed.
I want to see that now.
It was
God.
strange, incomplete, difficult, and all sorts of other words that other Western mayors would not understand if she tried to use them. But at the same time, they were still family. Well, Freedom, she said to herself as she looked back up in the shower. If it's so bad, then you shouldn't have married him in the first place.
No, it's not away from until part 2. If you have any questions in field that are not spoilerific, I'll happy to clarify them for you. Don't sound like a whore, but feel free to fave or recommend this to anyone. I am satisfied with the story, but I feel as if I could get so much more for it. Like, even though it is cruel to say so, I feel like the story is the best work I've done so far.
But there's still more chapters to it. What are you talking about?
So far.
There's a lot more chapters. What?
Why does he have a note saying you have to wait until part 2 before the end of part 1?
I guess that's an old note. Hey, so unless you want to continue reading, or should we play a quick game of board games online?
I mean, this is extremely short. Oh, maybe all these chapters are short. This one's a diary, so.
Damn.
Right,
You're
Wait,
right.
I'm confused. What was this about? Oh! I think I know what the part 2 thing is, because the story is titled Part 1, but the sequel isn't titled Part 2.
Damn, you're right.
I'm gonna rate this.
Short. Okay then.
November 11th. Dear Diary, I don't really know why, but Rarity's been acting really weird lately. It kinda started yesterday. Scootable, Apple, and me were going to have a Kingdom Crusader summer party at Rarity's boutique house, and everything was going alright until that big bad lightning storm rolled in. She helped me take them home in the storm. Note to self, can a pony have a lightning rod as a cutie mark? That might be cool. Then when we got
Why did she
back,
want to know that?
Then when she got back, she promised to play a board game and made hot cocoa for me. I went upstairs and waited for her, but she was taking forever. I went to go check, and this is when she got weird. She was all pushy and mean to me, and I don't know why. She said she had a customer and didn't want me to disturb them. What's kind of weird is that Rarity never, ever is alone with a guy when she does something for them. She usually has Mom or Aunt Gemini or somebody else in the shop with her. I tried to wait for them to get done, but I went to bed. Too tired. When I saw Rarity this morning, she was really weird. She was kind of stressed out and huggy and edgy, and I don't know why. She just ran off to the library for some reason. Maybe I'll ask her if there's anything wrong when she gets back. I wonder if it has anything to do with her customer from last night. XOXO, Sweetie Belle.
Let's see how short this chapter is. This chapter's kind of short. Still a bit long.
We got 15 minutes. And how long's the other chapter, actually? They're both not too long. I think we probably should finish the story.
Oh,
We got 15 minutes.
Wait, you guys? Wait. How close are you guys to the end?
We have two more
we're
chapters.
second to last chapter.
Oh wow.
There's
So-
only 14 of them, Ben.
Let's go.
This hall, like the other nameless halls of Canterlot Castle, was always in perfect presentation and form for whoever found themselves walking down it. The lamps and chandeliers were clean and well lit, allowing the candlelight to illuminate the area in a warm yellow light. The tiled floor and the walls were cleaned, washed, and completely spotless. Even at this hour, when the majority of the world rested and unwound for the night, the castle was in perfect condition. But, for as composed and mellow as the castle was, six of its inhabitants were not the same. In this seemingly boring hall, 6 members of the wearing the specialized and enchanted armor for the recently returned princess were standing at their posts outside of her chambers. As was normal for a routine day, the arrangement was made of members of each species, 2 Pegasi, 2 Earth Ponies, and 2 Unicorns. The Pegasi, being more recognizable of the force, stood before the doorway to their charges' chambers and looked ahead while pairs of 1 Unicorn and 1 Earth Pony stood at opposite ends of the hall. It looked to be like that it was going to be a boring end to a boring day. As soon as the night shift came to take their positions, they would be off to bed, much like their mistress had done a few minutes earlier. But out of the blue, for no reason or warning at all, the unicorn's horns became lit up with magic. Without any explanation, the horned equines sprung to life and ran towards the door, throwing their accomplices off guard and waking them up.
Equine?
Random intro.
Sorry.
Seeing the rush towards the door, the bat-looking Pegasi coiled their legs up and kicked the door that they were standing in front of. The 6 ponies, with varying types of sharp melee ranged weapons at the ready, stormed into the room and visually checked the air.
Ben, mute your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Everything was fine. The personal chambers of Princess Luna looked absolutely untouched. The windows were closed, the door to the balcony was locked, the ledgers, books, and papers on her desk were all untouched, and her bed was empty. The princess, though, was missing. The 6 looked around, and saw steam lazily wafting out of the top crack of the door to the princess's bathroom. The 6 guards took position by the door and tried the handle. Locked. Jeez, guys, she's taking a shower or something. Don't look. Ooh, man, she's all wet. We should go in there. While the other 5 took positions on both sides of the door that they silently agreed to breach, one of the unicorns got in position in front of the door and readied his weapon. In his possession was a state-of-the-art defense weapon system. The contraption was like a type of crossbow, except it had no bow to it or string. Instead, the central housing was 2 magnets that ran the length of the weapon. He shouldered the device, ready his hoof on the trigger. With his other hoof, he worked an action that moved a steel bolt payload from the tubular magazine inside of the lower half of the weapon and into fire
So it's a
position.
real gun. Cool.
The shot, being held
That is cool.
by a plastic casing, exited the magazine and floated between the 2 tracks of magnets. With a call of breaching, the unicorn pulled on the trigger action, and the magnets that were installed down the length of the weapon's barrel closed in on each other, no longer suspending their payload between the two, but aiming propelling it down its length and out of the weapon. The steel bolt exited the unicorn's weapon and pulverized the lock on the bathroom door, allowing it to be kicked in. The six breached the room, and like before, found nothing out of the ordinary, and no princess either. Though heavy steam, they saw no signs of conflict, no toppled toiletries, no scratches or rips in the red-painted walls or the tiles, or on the shower curtain. Nothing. One of the six guards reached for the wall and hit a switch that opened a vent to rid them of the fog-like steam. I could not find the reason why the alert had been raised. One of the earth ponies walked forward and pulled back the curtain to the running shower. It was at that moment that one of the guards remembered something. The walls in Luna's bathroom were wallpapered, not painted. And then the earth pony pulled the curtain back.
Dude.
Author's note.
Sweet Mother Teresa of the hood of a Mercedes-Benz. What the fuck was that?
Well, you'll just have to click here to find out.
Yes. And chapter 14.
Alright, last chapter with 9 minutes to read it.
Okay. Go.
Assassin's Deed. Really?
I guess.
Assassin's Deed? Seriously?
Estalia. There's no place quite like it. The ancient marble architecture survived the ages and stood in a stoic and distinguished manner above the city of Penance. The setting sun made the white buildings look as if they'd been water painted with a light orange color, while the watery streets and canals of the coastal paradise reflected the last of the light back up towards the sky. While the city's beauty was captured in perfect form in this particular moment, the nation's equally majestic leader was also in rare form. From the stair access of the building, Princess Cadence walked towards the open door and onto the vacant rooftop patio of the building. Her mane was curled and tied tightly around her head in a fashion that her hair looked to be a tightly wrapped maroon, violet, and yellow candy cane. Her dress, if it was appropriate to call it that, hung on around her form like a transparent silk toga. The only evidence that it was there was the distorting effect that it gave off when focused on. The garment showed off her flank, body, and curves magically as she leisurely strolled past the empty lunch tables, under the piano that hung by the rope that supports left by the moving crew, and stopped at the stone rail and gazed out at the crystal clear blue harbor and the sun reflecting off the water. Crystal clear, because she's the princess of the Crystal Empire, and apparently also Italy.
I wouldn't take breaks to keep reading, you know.
Italia!
Estalia, because, there are stallions.
Ah, that's okay. Fun.
As she stood and looked out at the water, another figure exited out of the same stairway access. This individual, wearing a white cape, suit, and a hood pulled tight over his head, stopped in the middle of the roof. He pulled his hood down, showing his horn and the scowl on his face. He opened up one of the many slips on his shirt, revealing a shocking amount of knives, swords, and other weapons that would make one wonder how he ever got past the armies of security and general police officers in the city. He pulled out his sword and levitated in a fashion to point the tip at the pink-winged unicorn. Clearing his throat, the stallion said, "Hello, my name is Rigo del Dingo, Nino Rolingo, Gazresignoa das Facilitini, Mounter of the Mares, Slayer of Stallions, Virtuoso of Swords, and the unbeatable blade." He stopped and closed his eyes, focusing his anger and frowning his hate of the stallion princess. You killed my mother, my brother, my sister, my hamster, my roommate. Prepare to die.
What?
Okay, continue.
He opened his eyes and prepared to attack the princess, but stopped when his target was not doing as he thought she would. Normally, when he would begin his epic and grandiose monologue, the prey of his hut would scream, run away, or go for more, undertrained and uninterested guards, which he would cut down while they tried to hide in the corner. But instead, the pink-winged unicorn had just turned around and was staring at him with a sly smile on her face. It was a pity. Princess Cadenza was quite the mare, one that he would have tried to bed if not for the fact of the blood feud that he embraced. During his travels, he had learned that he was quite the lady stallion. Yeah, it doesn't really work. But then again, not many stallions could use "Hello, I'm Assassino" as a pickup line. Slowly, Princess Cadence began to chuckle, and then a chuckle escalated into a laugh, which made the armed stallion's face begin to turn as red as the sun as he pointed at her with his hooves and shouted, "You! Why are you laughing with the words in the mouth? You shut your face, huh? You shut your face when I'm threatening you." Princess Cadence's silk wrapping glowed green, formed as a dark gray, water-resistant coat. Shortly after,
Mike.
body had a green wave, which made her pink body change into a navy blue stallion. "Who the fuck are you?" the stallion swords pony demanded. Calmly, the stallion in a light jacket stepped away from the railing and towards a winch on the side of the rooftop, which held a tight coil of rope. Maydrock, this is you.
Oh, you know.
Maydrock, it's S. Brock.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you know.
He said as he put his hoof on the handle.
A real fucking assassin.
In one swift motion, he pulled down the lever, releasing the tension on whatever the rope was holding up. While Ringo das Fettuccini may as well be the warrior his ego claimed him to be, the great lover of mares, the defeater of 1,000 stallions, and the unstoppable assassino of an ancient order. But unfortunately, none of that particularly mattered when this Steinerne piano, positioned above his head, was released from its suspension rigging. Authors know. This is just a joke I wanted to make. It does not fall under any canon of the story. So please take this lightly. It's my birthday after all, so I can do whatever I want.
Link.
Also, if anyone wants to know what happened in the previous chapter, the answer will be in between needles and knives.
Yeah, I think that's a sequel to this story, which we'll come back to on next rarity. And I shall end
next year.
And I shall end the stream at 7, which is in 2 more minutes for me. That I can't believe we finished it. Accomplishment. What are we doing with our lives? Hello, hello, hello. So that's funny, right when we get done, Skype craps out. That's timing.
That was not Skype.
Oh, well, still, that was like perfect timing.
Yeah, it was right as I closed out of the tab of the story. It's just full screen.
God, I love timing like that. It would have been worse if it was any other time during the reading, but nope. Okay, 1 more minute and I can end the stream.
Turns out I gotta get to SNS. SNS.
Yeah, I was there last time. That was pretty fun. And now I can end stream and